Hello everyone, welcome back. We're Nick and Sarah, and if you're new around here, we're usually travelling around Europe in our camper van. But this year, we built out a new van, bought some off-grid land in Portugal, and are currently back in the UK seeing family and trying to do a bit of travelling. "20 years later and he still brings me a coffee."
20 years, can you believe it? We must have got together when we were at primary school.
Welcome back to the channel, folks. Happy Sunday. Yes, an extra video this Sunday just to celebrate this special occasion.
Celebrate us and our love for each other.
And we're actually now on the Northumberland coast, the remote Northumberland coast, on a beach called...
Just up from Cresswell Beach, I think it's Druridge.
Druridge
Bay.
Druridge Bay, and the beach is literally just there, and it's so lovely. The sun is shining. Sat here enjoying my coffee as the sun comes through the window and just
reminiscing.
Reminiscing. I was going to say that, reminiscing on the last 20 years. You ready, boys?
So guys, in this week's special vlog, a special Sunday session, we're going to be exploring the Northumberland coastline before we head into Scotland.
Yes.
And we're also going to be reminiscing and giving you a little insight into where it all started, where we began.
It's all about us.
Bit self-indulgent, but it is our channel, so we can do what we want. So how did it all begin, darling? How did we meet?
Well, we met in 2004 when I was out in Spain and Nick came out to Spain to visit one of his very best friends. And that very best friend happened to be a very good friend of mine as well. So we met through this very good friend of ours, and that's where it all began 20 years ago.
And then we got together, we both had a love for travel, really wanted to go travelling, so we spent the next 2 years working our little butts off, saving to go away travelling.
Sorry, dip in the sand.
And then 2 years after we got together, pretty much, we got a one-way ticket to Beijing, China.
Yes, we did. We got our backpacks, we sold everything else. Oh, we didn't even sell it, actually. We just gave it all away.
Gave it away to friends.
Yeah, we were renting an apartment, so we just gave up the rent on the apartment, got rid of all of our things, took our backpacks and headed to Beijing. So this is not a bad beach to start our little Northumberland coast tour, is it?
Definitely not. Beautiful sand dunes, massive wide stretch of beach. The thing about the UK is it's massively tidal, isn't it? So when I came down here before, the sea was right out. You couldn't really get close to the sea, and now it's right in.
It comes quick as well, doesn't it?
It comes real quick.
And along this so far, we've just come down here from inland. This is the first place we've come to. And there's a couple of car parks that you can park the van, and there's like pull-offs where we've pulled off now, so it's pretty good. The one car park, the main car park, did have a height barrier, but so far, so good.
Go on then, boys.
Let's go.
Onwards to Scotland. So where were we?
Beijing, one-way ticket.
Always wanted to go to China, so we made it happen. Arrived in Beijing, had 2 months there, and then we spent the next year travelling around Southeast Asia.
And then we got a flight from Singapore to Australia. How comes Charlie always gets much more muckier, and he didn't even go in the water, did he?
No.
Oh well. Good job we got vacuum on board. So Australia is where it all began.
Bought a camper van. Yes, our first camper van after arriving in Australia. After a few weeks, we bought our first excuse me.
Sorry.
Bought our first van. It was a 1989 Nissan Airvan.
It was a right old banger. We paid $800 for it, so I think at the time it was about £400. And we lived in that van for about 2 years.
We spent the next 2 years travelling around Australia working. When I say working, I mean working.
We were basically doing 14 hours a day. Saw this opportunity, it came up. The wages were really good in Australia. We took that opportunity to save as much money as we can whilst living in our van and travelling, doing a bit of travelling in between. So by the time we'd gone to Australia and got our very first camper van, we were already total travel addicts after spending like a year in Asia. And I think the van just made us fall in love with travel even more, because it was like a new type of travel, not backpacking, but van life. We just loved it, didn't we? The freedom, you know, it was just amazing.
We were in Australia for about 2 years, and although we did work and save a lot of money, we did do a lot of travelling as well, probably about half and half. So we'd work for a number of months and then go off travelling, and we did manage to cover quite a lot of ground. We explored all the east coast, we explored the south, we went up to Cape Tribulation in the north, we even made it to Uluru in the outback, which was a proper adventure. We didn't make it to Perth because it's about 4,000 kilometres across the Nullarbor Plain and a whole lot of nothing. But yeah, we absolutely loved Australia. It's perfectly set up for travelling around in a van. Just driving along the coast and we spotted this lovely castle. Wasn't a planned stop, but it looked pretty impressive. This is Warkworth Castle. So I think we're just going to get the eyes in the sky and have a little look.
Not a bad castle.
Not bad at all, really. Not worth having a little wander around, I don't think. There's loads of castles in the area. There's Bamburgh Castle a bit further on. There's Alnwick Castle, which was featured in Harry Potter. So if we're going to go in any, those will be the ones. But yeah, worth a stop off.
Our next little stop is going to be Alnwick. It's very, very pretty round here, isn't it? And before we get down to the pretty little town, I think we'll just add to our Australia bit that while we were in that part of the world, we actually left to do a visa run. Would you call it a visa run?
Yeah, because obviously the working visa only lasts a year, and then we had to get tourist visa, so we had to leave the country in order to apply for the visa. So we thought, why not go to Fiji?
We did some island hopping in Fiji, which was a bit of boat life actually.
Staying in little remote villages, choosing your island, a lot of fun. The Yasawa Islands.
And then after another little bit of time in Australia, we headed to New Zealand. New Zealand was interesting because we actually lived in a car in New Zealand. We hired a station wagon, we bought bedding, we bought like a mattress for the back, and that was our little home for a couple of months in New Zealand.
I've always said the smaller the vehicle, the bigger the adventure, and New Zealand would be an adventure in any size vehicle, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was awesome. After New Zealand, we went back to Australia. And it was almost time, because it was almost 3 years by now.
Getting on for 3 years.
Getting on for 3 years that we've been away. So we went back to Australia, we sold the camper van. We sold the camper van for 3 times more than what we paid for it, which was just crazy. And then we decided, you know what, we're not quite ready to go back to Europe. Let's go back to Asia for a couple of months.
you've been to Asia, it's very hard to leave. But yeah, after being away finally for nearly 3 years, we decided it's time to head back to Europe. Anyway, let's get back to real time. We're going to have a quick walk around this pretty little seaside town of Alnwick. Looks lovely, all these old buildings and the stonework, red rooftops. It's set on the side of an estuary, there's a little marina, it's backed by beaches, beautiful scenery. But yeah, really nice little town. I have to say, the Northumberland little villages and towns are very, very pretty, the ones we've driven through.
Yeah, and already after just being on the coast for like a day or so, it's very quiet compared to Norfolk, where we were sort of before this, I guess, which was very difficult to park up and felt a little bit stressed in the camper van. Straight away here, it just seems a lot more relaxed.
Definitely.
Yeah, which we like a lot. That's Alnwick.
That's Alnwick. We haven't delved into it too deeply. We haven't gone off and down any little side streets, but the main street is about 100, 200 metres long, and there's about 6 or 7 pubs on it.
Yeah, and not much else. A post office. Yeah.
A few little gift shops and stuff, but mainly pubs. Our kind of place. But I think we'll continue.
After a little, 10-minute drive, we've just arrived in Alnwick. Nice famous castle here that was actually in Harry Potter. Some scenes from Harry Potter. I think it might be closed now because we're a little bit late in the day, but I think we're going to do a little walk anyways and have a little look-see at it from the outside.
Yeah, be rude not to.
Be rude not to. And also it's interesting because this car park is a disc parking lot where you don't usually get those in the UK.
Display your disc, yeah, that's normally a Europe thing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
thankfully we have one because they do use these a lot in France, but I've never seen a display your disc car park in the UK. So maybe that's a thing as we go north. So this is like one of those proper castles. Do you know what I mean? Like it looks like a proper castle.
Yeah, I'm all for like proper castles that have been reconstructed, not for going to ruins, because otherwise, yeah, what are you going for? You have to use your imagination.
What's wrong with using your imagination,
I have got an
Nicholas?
imagination, but I'd like to see how it was so you can, walk around the battlements and picture how it was sort of back in the days under siege and stuff.
Now this is not only famous in the
Harry Potter movies,
but it's also lived in. Can you believe that people live in that castle?
It's the second largest inhabited castle in the UK, and it's been home to the
Duke of Northumberland?
Yes, his family for 700 years.
Yes.
And I think it was first purchased as a Norman castle in 1357 by a rich fella, and then he continued to add like turrets to it. They added the statues at the top, which were fashionable at the time, and they added the gateways and things, and then it's been lived in for the last 700 years. But that is definitely worth visiting. Guys, and we are now in Bamburgh, which is our final destination on the Northumberland coastline. We're just parked in the little town. We've got a view to the stunning castle, which sort of dominates the horizon, set just off the beach. This is like a Harry Potter theme. You look like something out of Harry Potter.
You don't see me?
Can you see into the future?
No, it's going to affect my eyes in a minute. Excuse the mess in the van, by the way. We're doing like work on our laptops. We're about to go and fill up waters. That's why that's out. And I think Nick said it was like morning. It's actually 3 p.m. We've been meaning to go out and look around the town and go and check out the beach and everything. And we've just been in the van getting on with like van admin, we'll call it, just jobs and doing stuff. And it's Thursday today. And it's always the same on Thursdays. We're just busy little bees in the van. And it's a nice day, really nice day. It's sunny and we're like, we want to go to the beach, but we have to get our jobs done first. Anyway, we didn't actually stay in this location. We stayed about 15 minutes south in a little residential area. It got quite late and it actually got dark and we still hadn't found a parker. And we pulled into this car park and it said no overnight stay, and we thought, oh, we best not. We just drove down the corner from the car park and just parked on the corner of a road right next to a skip so we couldn't even open our back doors.
So we have stayed in a few residential areas on this trip and it's not that bad really. I mean, at night when you shut the curtains, put the shutters down, you're not actually looking out. I know you're thinking, why don't they just stay at a campsite?
Campsite? What's that? No way!
We don't do that. We don't do. I mean, why?
Against campsites.
Why do we need to though? Because we've got our bathroom and toilet here. Power used to be an issue, and that would be a reason to stay at a campsite, but not anymore.
Right, this is the best thing that we've ever owned, I think, in this van, like in any van ever. This is the EcoFlow alternator charger, supercharger. And basically, if you watch the last video, the video before, we were running a big cable from our starter battery to the back of the van. And this is why we're running a cable, because this thing is an absolute beast and it charges our Delta Max 2 when we're driving. And when I say charging, it's basically putting 800 watts into that baby there.
And not only does it charge your power stations, but you can also switch it to battery maintenance mode and then reverse charge. So if your starter battery's struggling, you can put some power from your power station back into your starter battery.
It only kicks in and charges this once that's full, and it just connects into the side, and then the other cable goes through to the front and it just goes onto the positive terminal with its fused and everything. It's perfectly safe, and then that's it. That's all you have to do. And then we were just shocked. We're just shocked at how good it is.
Really easy to use. You can play around with the settings so you can choose how much power goes into the EcoFlow as you're driving. It's just brilliant.
So then this can be bracketed on your wall by your EcoFlow, or it can actually just sit on top, and that's what we've been doing with it. So you go into your EcoFlow app, you go onto the alternator charger. Go on then, love. So good. There we go, look, so as soon as the battery is, to the right voltage and fine, it just starts charging your power station.
Even if you just sat in idle in a traffic jam, you can still be putting 800 watts into your power station.
It's just amazing. Honestly, we can't get over it.
Basically, we can be cooking using the air fryer, the kettle, our electric saucepan thing all night long, editing all night long, and then drive for like an hour and a half the next day.
And it's all back topped up again.
It's incredible.
We haven't even been using our gas hob. We've just been cooking on electric. We did say that we wanted to turn this van into an electric van, and now we've got this. It's happening. It's happened.
Prime Day on the 8th and 9th, EcoFlow offering some fantastic deals. You can get up to 40% off.
Up to 40% off their products. The EcoFlow Delta Max coupled with that alternator charger is just a van lifer's dream, I'm telling you. Up to 40% off. There's also an additional 10% off. Use our special code. All of the details will be in the description box, and we couldn't be happier with these products.
So guys, where were we? I think we best continue with our little trip down memory lane.
Yes, so after our 3 years away travelling, we just got back to Europe. And what happened next?
Well, we stayed in the UK for a few months, then thought, not for us, nice place to visit, but don't want to live here. So we decided to get back over to Spain, where we started looking for a house.
So we started looking at little cave houses actually in Granada at first, and little village houses around Spain and Portugal. Now, when we were in Australia, as we mentioned before, we worked so many hours and we managed to save quite a bit of money to be able to buy a cheap property, to be able to buy a base. And that's basically what we did. Within 6 months of being back in Spain.
In 6 months we saw a few properties and then found our current house now, which was an absolute bargain. So we bought that house, our little village house, and then spent the next few years completely renovating it.
Doing all of the work ourselves because we had no money left, because we bought the house outright. We didn't get a mortgage, we just bought this house, but that was it. That was all of our money that we'd saved up from Australia, which was obviously great, but the house needed completely renovating. So it took us about 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
To do it all ourselves whilst working full time as well. So during this time we started saving again. So we were basically working full time, renovating our house and putting all of our money away. We didn't have a mortgage, so we could save, and that's what we did for the next
That's what we did, and then the plan was to save up to a certain amount and then quit work and go off travelling again. But we needed a van, so a year before we quit work we bought Vinny.
Yeah.
After having Vinny for about a year and doing some little trips away around Spain, we decided it was time to quit work
again
and go full time on the road.
Yeah. Now we had enough money to sort of travel around Europe for about a year or maybe a little bit more.
Well, the plan was 3 years, and then that would be the same as got down again to a certain amount, and then I'd have to go back to work.
But that was proper budget. Like, we didn't have a lot of money really, did we? We quit our jobs and thought we can do it really cheap in a van. So that was the plan, and that was the time. About that time we started the YouTube channel. Now at that time we didn't think that the YouTube channel was ever going to support our, you know, be a living as it is today.
Just a bit of fun, because I enjoyed making videos anyway. Made videos going on like trips away on holidays and festivals and stuff, so I enjoyed doing that. So we thought it'd just be, keep us out of trouble and something to focus on while travelling.
Yeah, and then I think it was 2 years, about 2 or 3 years after we started the YouTube channel, it started to make some money, and obviously now it's our full-time job. So
So that's it really. We're not going to talk about the last sort of 7 years we've had the channel now. We're not going to talk about those years because it's all documented on the channel.
From the start. We made about 500 videos, I think.
So if you want to know what's happened over the last several years, then go back and watch the old videos.
Yeah, so that's our 20 years together, basically. Most of that has been sort of full-time travel. Like over half the time we've been travelling, full-time, and then
house owners for over half the time, dog owners. Oh, we forgot about the dogs. The dogs came in like a few years before we
started the channel.
Yeah.
The dogs came in they're 11 years old now, so 3 years before we started the channel, we found these two little rugrats, and
if we hadn't found them, we may never have started the channel, because initially we wanted to go backpacking around South America. We wanted to, do what we did in Asia, over in South American and American places.
Yeah.
But then we rescued the dogs and decided van life was the way forward.
Yeah, that's it.
We finally made it out the van.
Yeah! At bloody 6 o'clock, 5:45 it is now.
I mean, have you ever seen a castle like that? Look at it. It's just grown up out of the rock. It sits on this cliff. All around is like flat countryside, and then you've got the beach just like 100 metres down there, endless sand dunes in either direction, and this ginormous, impressive castle just growing out the rock.
Would you say it's the best castle you've ever seen?
The Alhambra in Spain, I think, beats it. Yeah. But it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's crazy.
So obviously the castle is closed this time of night. Quite nice actually, there's no people up here now.
It's lovely, yeah. Not a soul.
You get the whole place to yourself.
I mean, the location is absolutely outstanding. You've got incredible views across the land and out to sea. Yeah, it's huge. It just stretches along this cliff that juts up from nowhere.
And whoever's looking after this castle is doing a pretty good job. It looks immaculate, doesn't it?
Just read a little thing there. I think this is the same scenario as the castle were in Alnwick, that it was bought by a really rich fella, bought the castle in 1894 and then added parts to it and let his imagination run wild and just create this masterpiece of a castle. I think this is one of those epic places that you have to visit, that you've seen in photographs. This, dramatic castle, raising up off the beach with just stunning views all around. And it's even more impressive when you're stood underneath it. And there's lots of walks you can do around the ramparts or the base of the cliffs and along the beach to get loads of different perspectives. It's pretty incredible.
Are we going to go inside the castle?
Well, I'm debating whether we haven't got time. Obviously, we're always rushed on these trips. So do we do the castle or do a little boat trip out to see the seals? Or do we split up and do one each? Or do we do neither and carry on to Scotland? So that's a wrap. The light is fading fast and we're heading back to the van. What a castle though.
What a castle.
What a castle.
What a bloody castle, my love. Morning, folks. Now I've got a feeling that I've said earlier in the vlog that this place is Bamburgh. It's not Bamburgh, it's Bamburgh. Sorry about that. Nick probably called it Bamburgh as well, I reckon.
Yeah.
Anyway, we slept really well in Bamburgh. We had a little wine in one of the bars last night, 2 wines actually, and you had a couple of beers.
The cheapest pint I've had in the UK, £4.30 I think.
He was well happy.
Nice local ale.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so it was good. There's actually toilets here and they're open all night long. They're clean and they were very fresh this morning. They've been cleaned this morning. There's also bins and there's a place that you can fill up your drinking bottles. And to visit the castle, obviously if you park all around here, it's free parking all day without any restrictions. The castle, I think there's £5 parking right at the top of the castle for the day only. And then there's also another big car park, which I think you can stay overnight and it's like £12, is it?
£12 and then day parking is like £10
Yeah,
all
so
day,
you have to pay on top with the day parking and then, so it works out quite expensive. But yeah, here's pretty good because you can just walk into town and stuff.
Yeah, there's just there's like a triangular park here and 2 roads which are alongside that are free parking all day. So yeah, it's been brilliant.
If you can get a spot. I mean, but now we're going for a little drive. We're on a mission to find fish and chips. We have come like a few miles south to a little place called Sea Houses.
Yes, I thought it was seahorses, sea houses.
We're getting all the names muddled up, haven't we?
And this place has got loads of stuff going on. Back in Bamburgh, there was like mainly just sort of restaurants.
A couple of restaurants and accommodation.
Hotels and stuff. Here, there's arcades, there's several fish and chip shops. We've come to the right place. But I might be going to do a little cruise to see the seals.
Feels quite heavy. I think it's going to be quite a large portion. Good job we haven't eaten today so far.
So yeah, I've booked my little ferry ticket to go out and see the seals.
How exciting!
Life. I'm quite excited about it. Sarah's going to stay here and probably spend a fortune in the shops around here.
There's loads of charity shops.
I've already got one little bag with a couple of items in.
Yeah.
Not a bad fish and chips, that. Batter's like very thin and...
Yeah, but the fish is really thick. I quite like it. I think it's good. Do you? It's got like a different flavour to normal.
And of course we've got mushy peas and curry sauce. Happy days. Look, the sun's shining. Down by the seaside. Fish and chips. About to go on a little cruise. Happy anniversary, darling.
Happy anniversary.
Oh!
Ugh. Quite nice, isn't it? You know, for our 20th anniversary. Yeah.